General, this one's a strange one. I know we have strange bedfellows, but this is raising a lot of eyebrows.
In Ukraine, it's now highly likely that North Korean soldiers are fighting for Russia, South Korea's defense minister says.
Last week, Ukrainian missiles struck Donetsk. The attack killed a few soldiers. But here's the catch. They weren't Russians. In fact, new reports suggest that they were North Korean soldiers. What were they doing in Ukraine?
The former Home Affairs Secretary says Australia is undermining the threat posed by the growing alliance between China, Russia, Iran and North Korea. He alleges the escalations of conflict in the Middle East in conjunction with the war in Ukraine and China's aggression in the Indo-Pacific indicates a new era of dictatorship alliances.
On October 3rd, Ukraine struck Donetsk. Seoul says the missile strike may have killed 6 North Korean officers. Ukrainian media has also reported the same. So the partnership is going to new levels.
Now, Taiwan's defense ministry has said that it has detected 24 PLA aircraft and 10 PLAN vessels operating around the island. The 22 of them crossed the median line and reportedly entered into Taiwan's air defense identification zone.
The strongest partnership deal, we are told, since the Cold War. Russia's Vladimir Putin, North Korea's Kim Jong-un, best buds, and signing an aggression pact to avoid aggression from the rest of the world.
The extension of a military pact that Moscow and Pyongyang signed in the month of June this year. They pledged to extend military ties. North Korean weapons are already being used in Ukraine by the Russians.
Look, this is pretty significant when you think about it. It's the first time that Putin has been back to North Korea in over 2 decades.
The Israeli military displayed on Sunday thousands of weapons and equipment it said were seized from Hamas. Ahead of the 1-year anniversary of Hamas' October 7th attack, the Israeli army showed thousands of weapons it said were seized from the militant group which were used in Israel during the onslaught as well as others taken during the past year of operations inside Gaza and Lebanon. The military, which created the display at a sprawling army base south of Tel Aviv, said it has retrieved more than 5,000 AK-47 assault rifles from Gaza and destroyed double that number, as well as seized thousands of other items including drones, explosives, RPGs, scuba equipment, machine guns, sniper rifles, anti-tank missiles, and weapons manufactured both inside Gaza as well as in Iran, Russia, and North Korea.
Between Iran with its nuclear program and nuclear-armed Israel. The rhetoric from North Korea's Kim Jong-un is getting less international attention. This week, he repeated a warning. If South Korea used armed forces against his country, North Korea would, without hesitation, use all its attack capabilities. And he said the use of nuclear weapons is not ruled out, though he later said, we have no intention of attacking South Korea. This week saw a massive annual military parade in South Korea, including a US bomber.
What Korea gets out of it, it kind of reduces their isolationism in the region, and it solidified this axis of evil, the axis of China and Iran and North Korea and Russia.
North Korea's army says it's moving to permanently shut off and block the border with South Korea. It said it had informed the U.S. military to prevent an accidental clash.
North Korea is permanently blocking its territory from South Korea by cutting off all roads and railways. Pyongyang says the measures are in response to what it considers provocations by South Korea and the U.S., citing joint military exercises. According to the country's state-run news agency, the North's military believes, quote, the acute military situation prevailing on the Korean peninsula requires the armed forces of the DPRK to take a more resolute and stronger measure in order to more credibly defend the national security. But officials in Seoul say Pyongyang has been building up its side of the border for months with anti-tank barriers and mines. And they warn this latest move will only further isolate the North. Beijing responded to the decision with another call for restraint.
We believe
that maintaining peace and stability on the Korean peninsula and promoting a political solution to the peninsula issue is in the common interests of all parties.
Last month, he was pictured visiting centrifuges that can produce fuel for nuclear bombs. Last year, he brought his daughter to inspect missiles.
This is my honor.
The years when Kim Jong-un was prepared to meet with President Trump and perhaps negotiate are a memory now. The next president may have to deal with a very different North Korea. Tom, the relationship between President Putin and Kim Jong-un is not new. President Putin knew Kim Jong-un's father, Kim Jong-il. But the closeness between the two men and the two countries, that is increasingly unusual. US intelligence estimates that North Korea shipped 16,000 crates of munitions to Russia in the past year. And Russia says it is helping North Korea with its space program. There are tensions, too, between China and North Korea, between China and Russia and Iran. That may be an opportunity for a future administration.
North Korea is returning the favor too. Its weapons are already playing a big role in the Ukraine war. Growing evidence suggests that Russia has been deploying North Korean missiles in Ukraine, and now it looks like it's also using Pyongyang soldiers. Which brings us to the question, how far does this no-holds-barred friendship go? Well, there's nothing organic about this comradeship. It may look like these two are BFFs, but it's based on common enmity towards the US. However, there's also a lot to gain. For Putin, it's a new ally, a steady supplier of military weapons and now even soldiers.
Yu also warns of an alliance brewing between China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea.
They're working together, that's for sure. Whether that's an axis or an alliance, but certainly there are symptoms, signs that they're working together.
Now, Taiwan's defense ministry has said that it has detected 24 PLA aircraft and 10 PLAN vessels operating around the island. Now, 22 of them crossed the median line and reportedly entered into Taiwan's air defense identification zone. Now, this comes after the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken reinforced Washington's commitment to Taiwan's sovereignty, adding that it is critical to U.S. interests. After attending the East Asia summit that was hosted in Laos, now, Blinken said that all Southeast Asian nations want to see stability and security across the Taiwan Strait. He further said that the region affects arguably every country in the world, as it is the world's main producer of high-end semiconductors.
It goes to the importance of preserving peace and stability in general, but it also goes to something that I think affects the lives, the livelihoods, and the future of every country in the region, and arguably every country in the world. 50% of commercial container traffic goes through the Taiwan Strait every day. More than 70% of the high-end semiconductors that the world needs are produced on Taiwan. So there's a strong interest around the world on maintaining peace and stability, preserving the status quo, avoiding any kind of conflict that could disrupt things that are so essential to the global economy.
And tensions between China and our neighbour the Philippines are reaching boiling point at the ASEAN summit in Laos. The Philippines President, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., has gone as far as to accuse Beijing of harassment and intimidation, with Marcos pressing Southeast Asian leaders to urgently speed up negotiations on a code of conduct for the South China Sea. Why do you think China is being increasingly aggressive and aiming that aggression towards your ships?
Well, we see really a pattern of expansionism in the West Philippine Sea and the whole South China Sea. And China's aggression in the past few days has not been limited to the Philippines. They are asserting, or they are attempting to assert their control over the 10-dash line boundaries in order to give meat to their unreasonable narrative or illegal narrative that everything within those lines are part of the sovereign territory of China. And I believe it's an attempt to redraw or redefine international law.
Iran's been supplying Russia with drones. Both China and Russia are almost certainly supporting Iran in terms of its ongoing struggle with Israel. And of course, North Korea's got the potential to also attack in South Korea. I think the Americans are very focused on that entire ring of fire, if you like, of strategic fire, from Russia and Ukraine through the Middle East, through not forgetting the prospect of conflict between China and India, and then coming up through the South China Sea all the way up to Japan.